and welcome to the podcast, Why Are You Sober? I'm Sam, the host, a sober addict, and I'm so glad you're here. Why Are You Sober? It is a space, it is a podcast where sober addicts can come on to share their stories about their addiction, where it led them, how they got sober, why they are still sober today, and hopefully just spread some experience, strength, and hope out there for everybody. If you are a sober addict and would like to come on the podcast, I would love to have you. You can get in touch with me on my website, which is whyareyousober.org, and my email is sam@whyareyousober.org. And if you are just somebody who's looking for help, needs some resources, you can also get in touch with me. If you have questions or anything, please reach out. I would love to chat with you. You guys can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at whyareyousober. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm actually recording the opening on Ash Wednesday. So I hope everyone's doing well and looking forward to this Lenten season. So today I am so excited about this podcast. I got introduced to this wonderful woman named Katie. She is a part of the community here that I'm a part of in North Carolina. And her story of sobriety is quite unique, but really beautiful. And so I'm really excited about sharing it today. So I'm just going to get right to it. So let's just go with the serenity prayer. Good and gracious friend, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Are you sober?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I'm really excited about this.
I am happy to be here. You can call me Katie.
Okay, Katie.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So, Katie, what is your addiction?
Alcohol.
Alcohol?
Yeah.
Is that your primary addiction?
Yes.
Ever go any farther than that, or has that been the primary? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Alcohol's the primary one, though. Yeah. Because it's everywhere.
Yeah. And how did that begin?
Ooh. Probably in high school, just doing normal high school things.
Yeah.
Maybe what I considered normal high school things. I grew up here in Boone, so, not much to do sometimes. And just drinking. That's probably when I started drinking or over drinking. And it was never from that moment, it was never ooh, I'm going to have a beer. It was always full out. So
from that moment forward,
it was never a red flag for me though.
Yeah.
Even in high school and maybe early college, I never felt like I was abnormal in that.
Yeah.
Which is weird looking back on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You always felt like, okay, well, everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
So it sounds good.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. So it started around high school for you.
Yeah.
So what was growing up like for you?
I'm awesome.
Okay.
I had a great family.
Yeah.
Great group of friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't complain. Did well in school.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
So why did you start drinking? Was it just fun?
Yeah, it was just fun. A lot of my friends were doing it. So I was like, sure, I'll start drinking. Addiction does run in my family.
Okay.
So I think when I was mulling over this, I was thinking about how I think that's it, that I'm just an addict. Mm-hmm. That was my addiction and that's what started it. And I tell my kids now, I'm like, hey, you got to watch out for anything that makes you feel really, really good that isn't normal life.
Yeah.
It could become a big, big problem for you.
Yeah.
Because we got this on both sides coming in. So I just try to let them know, even though they're younger. I guess Stella's 17.
Yeah.
So not as young as I imagine her. But.
Yeah. So tell me about college then. How did that go?
So with drinking in college, it just escalated. I think that with any addict or any kind of drinking problem, it just gets more and more out of control. It was a good way for me to escape any stress. And then, after any bad day or any good day, I'd have an excuse to drink. And then when I'm transferred from UNCG to UNC Asheville, and when I transferred to UNC Asheville, I love my roommates. But they did not go to college and they worked at bars. So it was a bad combination for me personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just kind of escalated from that.
So were you just still socially drinking, or were you drinking just because you wanted to, or were you now drinking for like specific purposes, like to numb things, or?
So honestly, in college, I still felt like it was very social, but my two roommates definitely drank like every night.
Yeah.
So like we were drinking plenty.
Regularly.
Yeah. Every night. But it still felt like it was normal because I was around people. And I think that happens when you're drinking or not drinking. That you all of a sudden have this group of people that does kind of the same thing that you do. And so you feel like it's totally normal to do that. Oh, yeah, it's a Thursday.
Yeah.
Why not? Thirsty Thursday. Let's go out.
And we're in our 20s. Like, this is what we do.
This is what we're supposed to do.
Okay.
And maybe not every 20-year-old does that.
Yeah, so you were really just kind of like on the mindset of this, I'm just enjoying this. This is cool. You weren't really using it to like cope with anything, or like that you were like not dealing with, or.
So yes.
Okay.
I do have post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay.
And I do see a therapist for it.
Mm-hmm.
And something happened in high school.
Okay.
And that, in hindsight, was probably what I was doing, was just trying to like smother out what had happened.
And so you weren't dealing with the trauma.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that just like escalated, which makes sense. And then now that I'm sober and that I've, been in therapy for a long time, I feel better about that. I don't feel like the need to just pretend like it's not there.
Yeah.
My therapist always says it's like like you can pretend like trauma's not there, and then you like close the door and you can like duct tape it and put plastic all over it, but it still seeps
The light is still seeping out of there.
It's still coming.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was most likely what led to my over drinking in late high school and college.
Like that's what precipitated it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I was drinking, but it wasn't like, it was like, every now and again.
Yeah.
And again, I have that genetic disposition.
Yeah. And so you go through college. Did you graduate like on time regularly? Like, did you take as some people like to say, the scenic route?
So I was on track to graduate, and then everything came crashing down because I wasn't dealing with trauma. Mm-hmm. And I like decided that, I don't know why people do this, but like decided that I was failing everything, and went and talked to my professors and was like, I'm just going to quit. I just need to take time off. And I went and talked to my professors, and they're like, you're not failing my class. Like, we're not going to let you quit. Like, I went to UNCA is a great school because it's small, and they knew me, and they were like, no, this is, when did I graduate college? 2005. So like, this was back, they were like, we'll email you and you can take time, but you need to give us stuff and we'll help you pass the classes. You're not going to drop out.
Oh, wow.
Which was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing that I had those professors. Like, I love them so much for doing that. Come to find out, like, we'll say like 3 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant with my first child. So, and she was life-changing. Okay. It was obviously, which was great. But yes, I took the scenic route because of that. It's funny because when I tell people, I'm like, oh, and then I had Stella, so I took a semester off. But really, I was going to take a semester off. Anyway. And I really didn't take a semester off. I just ended up doing like what now we would call like virtual learning.
Yeah.
And then graduated maybe a semester late.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, with a 1-year-old, which was awesome.
But you were feeling like you needed to take a break.
Oh yeah.
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 I had a very similar experience in and it was after my junior year, and I was just like, I need a break. I can't do this. And I actually deferred, but I just didn't tell my parents I deferred. Yeah. And so I mean, I caused a whole mess in that, and then I ended up just going back and finishing. But I really there was a point where I was like, I needed a break, and it wasn't given to me. And I don't know, I can go off and think about all the trauma that caused, but So that's really fascinating to me that you're having a very similar experience.
Yeah. It was right around that time. I think it was like, I was 2 semesters out from graduating.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I need a break. I remember calling my dad and being like, I think I'm going to take next semester off. And he was like, don't do it. don't do it. You
Yeah.
might never go back.
Yep. And that's everything my parents were saying. I'd
Yep.
say, yeah. Like,
And I was
you're
just
not
like-
going to go back. And I was like, yeah, I will. I just,
I will.
yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if I want to do this.
Yeah.
What if I don't like what I'm doing?
Yeah. So you graduate college.
Yeah.
And now where does life take you, and where does your addiction go?
So I graduate and I have Stella. And the day that I graduated college was the day that she turned a year old, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And I was super proud of myself. And I ended up moving back to Boone because I'd fallen in love. And I wanted to be in Boone. My parents were in Boone. And it was good. I moved back in with my parents while I was getting everything settled and trying to find a job and all of that. And drinking wise, like escalating because it wasn't social anymore, right? Like it wasn't like I was a mom now, right?
Yeah.
I was not going out and partying,
Yeah.
but I was still drinking.
Yeah.
Like, which is super shameful for me, right? Like, and these days we hear a lot about guilt and shame, and like that's a definite cycle that would get me
Oh yeah.
going on. And so fast forwarding a little, my kids are 4 and 5 years apart. So the drinking just like escalated throughout motherhood and my career. And just, it almost became like, maybe after, I never drank when I was pregnant, but after having my second kid, it was a way for me to have an off switch, right? I would get home from my job, I would do the mom thing, and then I would just be like, I am no longer available. Except I wouldn't say that. I would drink, and that was my off switch.
Yeah.
And one of the things, there's still a lot of time before I actually stopped drinking, but one of the things that got me to stop drinking was, or that helped me to think about it was this saying that was like, why do you need an off switch for your life? And I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I don't. I love my life. I have a great husband. I have great kids. Yes, there have been things that I have not liked and periods of time that I have not liked in my life. But honestly, that was one of the things that I read that I was like, oh my goodness. So after having Stella and moving back to Boone, I started realizing that I probably had a problem.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And like there would be periods of time that I would quit. And I
Yeah.
don't know if this is similar to your story or not, but there'd be
Yeah.
periods of times where I'd quit and I would just be like, I don't have a problem. I can
Yep.
quit for 2 weeks.
Yep.
People who are alcoholics
Can't do that.
can't do that.
Yeah.
I don't need to have a drink. And so time just like went on like that for a while. And then even to the point where after I got married, prior to having my second kid, maybe after having Cole, I would talk to Owen, my husband, and say, hey, if you notice that I'm drinking too much, will you give me like a nudge? Will you help me like,
Yeah.
hey, you've had too much, let's go. And like, that's a lot to put on a relationship anyway, in hindsight.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Asking someone to be your police.
yeah, exactly.
It's not like
Not a
that's
good-
not healthy.
Not a good thing. Not a good thing. But yeah, and so there would just be times where I would like stop, and then I would get pregnant, and then I wouldn't drink for 9 months, and I'd be like, look
Okay.
at that.
Yeah.
I'm not an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Because I didn't drink for 9 months. So I'll go back to drinking. And each time I went back, and I don't know if you had similar experiences, each time I went back to drinking, it started right off where it left off.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it wasn't like I could start back easy.
No, it wasn't gradual, and it was more. And the gradualness of it was maybe a couple days. Like
Yeah.
maybe I had 2 on the first day, then I had like 4 on the second day, and then it was like, okay, I had half the bottle, like
got it.
right away. Like yeah,
You got it. That was it.
Yeah.
That was me. Like exactly the same. Like I'd be like, ooh, look, I'm moderating. I can have 2 drinks and be normal.
yep,
And then like the third day, and I'm like downing a bottle of wine. By that point, I'd like cut out hard liquors for the most part,
Oh, good for
and
you.
I just would drink wine.
Oh yeah, no,
Like, 'cause,
I never
like-
got to that point.
That's what moms do. I don't know. I don't know why I decided that was an okay drink to have, but I would just drink wine. And and for the most part. And then I do have 3 kids. So after my 3rd kid, Theo, that's really when I started to like try to stop and realizing okay, this has become a big problem.
Yeah.
Try to stop and then not be able to. And so it was just like one of those realizations where I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have any control over this.
Yeah.
And I can't stop this. And then if I do stop, there's this like little weird addict part of my brain that's like, you're fine.
Yeah.
You can keep drinking.
Yeah. Oh God, I hate that.
I hate that voice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I had to learn early on not early on, but like when I was trying to just be like, shut up. I cannot drink.
Yeah.
I can't do it. Yeah. And I had lots of what you'd call like what people would call relapses, where I'd quit and then relapse and then quit. Relapse.
Yeah.
And each time it got worse and worse. And at the end, there were like a couple really embarrassing moments. At the end, I remember one time on like Saturdays and Sundays, I'd just wake up and like take shots of whiskey. I told you I wasn't drinking any hard liquor.
Yeah.
But you know, on Saturdays and Sundays, it's different because
it's not the week.
I don't work the next day.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I remember one Saturday I woke up and did that. And then, some friends just like happened to come over that afternoon and I was wasted.
Oh.
And I just kept being like, I'm just so sleepy. And I'm sure that they did not buy that at all.
Oh yeah. I know those. Yeah. I've had those moments
And
too. Yeah.
just like, I can't even believe that I'm like here like this. But yeah, it got to the point I wouldn't drive. So I'd made the decision that after drinking X amount, I would not drive anywhere unless I was out of wine and I needed more. And then I'd drive to the grocery store.
always. Yeah. No.
Why is that?
Yeah.
And then, and then I drive back. And, yeah, it was just, it just got to that point where I just realized I couldn't stop. So.
Okay. And so how is it affecting your life? How is it affecting your family? How is it affecting work?
So I had a really stressful, it wouldn't sound stressful if I described it to you, but I had a really stressful job.
Okay.
And I ended up quitting that job. And I always wonder if like I hadn't been drinking, would it have been that stressful of a job? So I don't know if it would have been, but I quit and I ended up working at a toy store, which was really low stress and extremely boring. Also not great for drinking because you're just bored and you don't have anything to do.
Yeah.
And you're like, I could do whatever. At that point in time, I had my 3rd kid. And then I went back to kind of a weird series of events happened. I went back to school to get my master's so I could be a high school teacher. So my original degree's in ecology and field biology.
Okay.
And then I went back to school to be a high school teacher to get my master's certification, which is like halfway to a master's degree.
Yeah.
And then I got a job like 2 weeks after I started school.
Awesome.
As a high school science teacher, which was great.
Yeah.
Awesome job. Also super stressful. So during all of this, I kept drinking, right? And I managed to graduate, which is great. Great news. I managed to keep my job, but it was awful. It was like, I like school and I like teaching a lot, but I did not like that time in my life. I worked an hour away. So I would still wake up at like 5:30 in the morning, but I would drink all night until I passed out.
Yeah.
Like I'd do my homework, drink all night, wake up in the morning, go teach school. How I did this is crazy. So now in therapy, we talk a lot about like how to slow down because I was in go for years.
Yep.
Like, just like, no, I'm doing everything. And my off switch, again, was drinking, which isn't healthy. And especially, no, not even especially, just isn't healthy, period.
Well, I mean, yeah. And it sounds like now drinking had actually become the way that you were coping. So you're off switch and turning off. That's how you are coping.
Right.
And that's not coping.
That's not coping. That's just like slowly killing yourself.
Yeah.
Which is horrible. I don't like those 2 years of my life.
Yeah.
There were moments where I'd quit for I quit once for 70 days.
Wow.
And my anniversary is where I started drinking again because we were going to go away, right?
Yeah.
And I remember it's that weird little, I call it my addict brain.
Yeah.
That like weird little addict brain that starts talking to you like a week beforehand. And like a week before my anniversary, I like texted people and I was like, do you think I could have a glass of wine on my anniversary? And they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, you've gone whatever.
Yeah.
This many days.
Yeah.
You
like,
can
of
do
course
that.
you can.
Of course you could have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
How many glasses of wine do you think I had?
And a lot. And those, and you know, you think back to those questions that you had for people and you're like, couldn't you guys admit that I had a problem? Like, was everyone just not admitting that I had a problem? Like, because
Right.
I remember actually going to some people and being like, I think I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And then being like, no, you're fine. Like you just had a
Oh.
little overboard. You're fine. And I was like, and I go back and I'm like, were you also in denial about it too? And I mean, I think it is. Like they don't want you to be, because then what does that mean for them?
Yeah.
Like, can he or she not go out with us anymore? Are they not going to be able to come around? Like, we want them here.
Right.
But, you know, like, yeah.
No, I think you're 100% right.
Yeah.
Because I remember like telling people and having the same conversations and being like, I think I'm drinking too much. And they're like, you're fine. You just overindulged. And in hindsight, I'm like, but you didn't see me every night.
Yeah. You didn't see me overindulge the night before that. And
Yeah.
the night before that.
Yeah.
And last weekend.
But
and
my little addict brain was like, oh, no, believe them. You were fine. You can drink.
Yeah.
I cannot.
No.
At all.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I went. What did I say? I went a couple months without drinking,
Yeah. And then you started on your
anniversary, 7 glasses of wine at least.
Yeah.
And then that started, and I want to say like 2 years of stopping and starting, and it just like escalated to drinking like almost every night. Like
Yeah.
I did well if I didn't drink one night a week. And in that time period, I moved from Caldwell to Watauga High School teaching and taught a new subject. And I blame lots of things on getting sober. But teaching at Watauga is one of the things I blame, because I started realizing that like if I didn't stop drinking, I wouldn't be able to continue teaching. Right? I was ready to quit my job. And it was a great job. The kids at Watauga, great kids, right? I love teaching at Watauga. Great science, like tons of support. Great science team over there. And I was ready to quit. I was waking up every morning and throwing up. Owen thought that I was definitely going to be quitting my job. And it was kind of like I live in this community. I see these people out.
Yep.
I know these families.
Yep.
And it put a lot of things in perspective for me. Through all this, I have to give a shout out to my husband. He just loved me. And he told me that I was worthy. And he told me that I was great and that I was a good person, regardless of if I was drinking or not. Wow. And that was really what I needed. I don't know if that's what everybody needs.
Yeah, but that level of unconditional love of just like pursuant, like I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
He's like, I love you.
That's solid.
And that was really what I needed.
That's solid.
And I'm really thankful that he was there for me. And I don't, never going to be able to pay that back because, I mean, I guess by being sober a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. So that was one of the things, was transferring to a community working in a community that I lived in was really helpful to helping me realize I needed to become sober and stay sober.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously my kids are another reason that I got sober.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be there for them, but I still felt like I needed an off switch, and I still felt like I needed this moment to like be able to be like, I'm not available. And what I didn't understand from either childhood, growing up in the 80s, 90s, or whatever, is that I could just say that.
Exactly. Yeah. Amen. Yeah. That was my thing.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that I could just be like, I just need to go take a break for a second.
Yeah. And
I didn't feel like I was ever allowed to.
Yeah, me neither. Ever.
Yeah.
Never. And I was just like, and it's so amazing to just be like, hey, bud, I'm having a terrible night.
Yeah.
And I just need to go lay down for like an hour.
Or my thing is, I'm like, I just need to go for a walk.
Yeah.
Like, I just need to go for a walk. And I mean, when I walk, I like power walk. I'm like 13.5 minute miles. Like, I'm like, but it's like getting it all out. I'm
Yep.
just like, yeah.
Yep.
So how did you get sober? So now you're teaching at high school. You're realizing I got to do this. Then what was the final thing? Like, what got you there or wherever?
Goodness. I don't even know. I knew for those 2 years since I first got that I had like a serious problem, but I kept coming back to it. And what, did I just wake up one day and decide I wanted to be sober and it stuck? I'm not really sure. Give me a second and I'll think of it.
Yeah.
No, I just like started following a bunch of people on Instagram. I'm not even kidding.
Okay.
Great. I did go to an all addictions meeting.
Okay.
And it terrified the shit out of me.
Yep.
They were like 100 meetings in 100 days, and I left that meeting and bought a box of wine and drank most of it. I was like, no, I can't do that. That's not me. I'm not these people.
Yeah.
Which is terrible. Terribly judgmental of me because they're by the grace of God. I mean, like, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. But like before it actually stuck, and I went to meetings before I got my DUI that I just like went in at one point and I was like, okay, I'm out of here. Like, this is not for me. And then I don't know what changed. I mean, besides just getting my DUI and realizing like I just have to do this now. But I think walking in then to those meetings, I was like, okay, I got to do this, like, or I'm going to get another DUI. Like that was my option.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, it's not going to get any better than this. So I just got to do this.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's like, and then I was like committed, but So I'm sensing a kind of a similar thing with you. Like, that once you suddenly were committing, it was like you suddenly went in.
Yeah. And I am like, a lot of people are like, oh, don't do the all or nothing thing. And I'm like, I am kind of that person. And I know that doesn't work for everybody. But I got sober for like 3 weeks and then we had a snow day and then I drank for like 3 days and it was a big snow. and then I woke up and I was like, I cannot do this. And prior to that, I see a therapist once a week. I told my therapist, I was like, I have a drinking problem. And that's really what's going on. Because before that, been like, I'm super depressed. I'm super anxious all the time, blah, 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 blah.
Awesome.
And I told her that I had a drinking problem. Ooh, wait. I remember. Hang on. Rewind.
Okay.
I was going through this where I was talking to my therapist and Owen was thinking I was going to quit my job. And I was still drinking pretty heavily prior to me being like, I have to stop.
Yeah.
Like, this is not an option anymore. And I remember going to, my best friend lives in Alaska, California, and Arizona. She's all over the place. And I remember going to her mom's house because she was visiting Boone and being like, I'm so anxious all the time. I just think, and I honestly thought she was going to tell me, maybe you shouldn't do teaching. Maybe you should do this. Maybe you should do something else. And she's like, you should quit drinking. She did not live in North Carolina. This was the first person that was like, maybe you should quit drinking. And she was like, look, when I drink a beer, I get really anxious. And I wonder if that's what's going on with you. And for some reason, this person that I've known since I was like, I don't know, 14, saying that to me, like that was the turning point. And that next week I told my therapist, I have a drinking problem.
That's awesome.
And then I went like 3 weeks, relapsed. And then December 14th, I was like, I gotta quit. 2016. Yeah. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So right before the holidays,
yeah.
you were just like, I'm going to do this.
Why not? If I can make it through the holidays sober, I can make it through anything sober.
Yeah.
And we made it through a pandemic sober.
Yeah.
And lockdown sober.
Yep.
So we're doing great.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that's really why I started this, was during lockdown, was reading all the articles about addiction going up and people, and then hearing stories from back in my home group of people who were like falling off. And it was just like, I got to be able to do something more. Like, there's got to be something more I can give out there besides just sitting here in my house, like not being able to do anything, you know?
Yeah.
Which is really, that continued to this. Like, from that thought, I got this idea, this podcast.
Is awesome.
Yeah. And it just was like, you know, I know how much I love stories, and I love listening to people's stories. And I was just like, hopefully other people want to hear other people's stories, and that those people can connect with them or know people that could connect with them and just like share them. And so that's kind of incredible. So you really like kind of white knuckled it and just were doing it with Instagram and inspirational stuff. And were you reading anything?
Yep.
Or, okay.
I read We Are the Luckiest.
And you had a therapist who is walking you through, like helping you with sobriety.
And she is an addiction therapist as well as just my regular therapist. So which is awesome. Yeah. It was great. When I had my relapse, we talked about it. Yeah. And what I could do different next time. And then what I could take away from it instead of just being like, oh, I'm the worst. I'm just going to keep drinking forever. Yeah. I can't do this. Which is usually what would happen. And until that point. And then, I followed a bunch of people on Instagram and would reach out to them, which was great. There's a huge sober community on Instagram. And that's the way I went, which was great. And I know lots of people that are in AA, and that works for them, and that's great. Yeah. But there's a lot of different ways to like get and stay sober. Yeah. So, and I read a lot. I really love knowing the science behind a lot of things. And so I read a lot of scientific articles on alcohol and brain function and depression and anxiety and the like loop that it causes. And that was really good for me. And anytime I would be like, oh, maybe I could drink, I would like pull up one of those articles, or I would look back, and this is super vain, I would look back at pictures of myself and like take a selfie of myself then and be like, look at how much more filled with life I am. Look at how much more I'm enjoying everything. I remember walking out like one of the first, I mean, I know it was in the middle of the December. I used to just like on like nicer days, go out barefoot. And like, I felt like I could like feel the earth. And I'm telling like, and I know that sounds crazy, but like that I could actually like feel connected to everything. And I felt more alive, and I still do, than I had ever felt. And it was just wonderful. Like I can enjoy things now more than I've ever enjoyed them before. I had enjoyable experiences before, but like now I like feel like I've fully embraced them and get them. And I still have to take moments in my brain where I'm like, slow down and take this in, because it's just beautiful, you know, especially with my kids. My youngest is now 8. And so sometimes I'm like, oh, it goes really fast. Yeah. Let's just like soak this in. Yeah. Or like my middle son telling me something about video games or his day at school, and I'm like trying to do the dishes, and I'm like, stop. I'm just going to turn around and listen, because, you know, it goes really fast. Yeah. Just moments like that are really just something I can enjoy, where the moments might have happened if I was drinking, but I definitely wouldn't be enjoying them. Or even aware that they were happening. Yeah. And my day when I was drinking was filled with just thoughts of how I was going to drink that night. If I was going to go out with friends, or if we were going to go do something, or if I was going to make some like mulled wine, which would be really exciting. And people who make mulled wine don't have a drinking problem. I don't know. I don't know why I would like make these like cool things, or I'd just be like, ooh, we could do this. My head was like fuller of that nonsense. Yeah. And now I have more space to like take in these really cool moments that happen with my family and at school and on a run or whatever. It's just really nice to like be present.
So it sounds like that's why you're sober.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. Just being able to like feel alive instead of just being alive. There's a difference.
Feeling alive rather than being alive. Yeah. Yeah. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
You know, it's like between being selfish and being self-centered.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's really good to be self-centered. Like, to center yourself, to be aware of all of your surrounding and people, that's really good. Being selfish, that's terrible. Like,
yeah.
you know?
Absolutely.
And that's the thing I think about with my own recovery is moving from being selfish into being self-centered.
Yeah.
And being like, okay, I need to take care of myself so then I can take care of other people and I can interact with other people because I've cared for myself.
Right.
And I'm okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. I am definitely a like all or nothing person also. I think most addicts are. But like, you know, I had a brain hemorrhage a couple of years ago and learned I had this rare brain disease and then had to have 2 brain surgeries. And they were like, no more coffee, which, you know, for a sober addict is like, we're going to take all of the blood out of your body.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
And it was like, okay, no more coffee and no more, you know, but I was sitting there thinking like, I mean, at that point I was only maybe like 4.5 years sober, but I was like, thank God I'm sober and going through this experience.
Yeah.
And so when my doctor was like, no more coffee, I was like, okay, you tell me that, then that's fine. Got it. Nothing.
I can do that.
Like no caffeine at all. Done. Total. It's out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get that. I get that. And I think I probably had a similar thing when I was going to meetings of just like, once I walked in, I was just like, okay, this is over now. Like now it's done. Yeah. So
this is it.
Yeah.
No going back. And anytime my brain's like, ooh, I'm like, no. Mm-mm. And it's either playing it forward and being like, I know exactly where this leads.
Playing the record.
Yep.
Just turn the record on and watch it and go, that's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen.
Yep.
It's not going to be any different.
Yeah.
And I like who I am now, which is really nice. Like if you talked to me 4 years ago, I did not like who I was. Even though, you know, my husband was like, oh, you're a great person.
Yeah.
And I love you and you're great and you're an awesome mom. I didn't like myself. And I really like myself
He sounds like
now.
an eternal optimist.
That's so funny.
Because it's not true.
No.
But with you, it was
Our joke is that his blood type is B positive. I'm like, it's just coursing through your veins, Owen. B positive. But he was always positive with me.
Oh.
I think that he always just knew that I would do what I needed to do.
Yeah.
To be who I needed to be.
What a gift.
Yeah.
I mean, what a gift. Like especially even with your therapist and how great it was that you were seeing them and then you finally were honest and, you know, finally just like, hey, this is what's going on. And they were like, okay, now
everything's
I can figure
clicking.
it out. Now we can do this.
Now we can actually like.
And I bet in her brain she's going, I told you so.
Like, yeah, exactly. She's like, I knew it, but she didn't say that to me, thank goodness, because I'd have been like, oh, what?
Yeah.
So, and then that friend that's still a great friend of mine. I did also manage, after having that talk with my therapist, to call all of my very good friends and be like, hey, I'm an alcoholic and I'm trying to quit and I need accountability and support and I need you to check on me, which is amazing. And they do.
Yeah.
And they still do. And
that's awesome.
And you know how like people gravitate, like we were talking about earlier, where like you kind of surround yourselves with people that are drinking like you're drinking.
Yeah.
And then you're not drinking. And like you surround yourselves, like a lot of my friends who still drink will like not drink or drink one and not in an awkward way.
Yeah.
Just in a really wonderful, supportive way.
Yeah.
And it's just really nice. So to have those people in my life that are just awesomely supportive all around.
It's all about community.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it is. And
when we're in our addictions, we are isolating.
Yes.
Even when there are 100 people around, you're still isolating.
Yeah.
And it's all like, okay, yeah, this all makes sense.
Right.
Like, I'm so glad I finally figured this out. I wish I'd figured it out a long time ago.
Right.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I thought I was being social. And like, that's one of the other things is just like, alcohol lies to you. Like it just like alcohol, the drug lies to you. And then alcohol companies lie to you.
Yeah.
Just by being like, no, you need this to be social and talkative. And, I can't remember who I was talking to, and they were like, "Oh, I think I'm going to quit, but I'm worried about going out, and I'm worried about this." And I'm like, I still dance on tables. Like I am still me. I am still talkative without alcohol.
Hey, for my anniversary, we went to the Panic at the Disco concert down in Raleigh, I think it was, and had VIP tickets. So the VIP bar was right there. I had the best time.
Yeah.
I didn't it was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter. And that's what's so great.
Right. And then you remember all of it. And then you don't have to
Oh my gosh,
call people the next day.
We had the most amazing time. Yeah.
And be like, what did I do?
And I'm very grateful because my husband doesn't drink. And that's just his choice. Like, he chose that before we got together. And I'm just like, he not an addict. He just was like, I just don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is really good for you. I'm glad you were able to make that decision.
Yes.
Because I wasn't.
You. It took a lot of convincing.
So, but but going through a pandemic with a partner who doesn't drink is like so much easier.
Yeah.
You're in lockdown.
Yeah.
Than somebody who probably does,
Yeah.
It's like, So
yeah, a lot. We bought 2 fridges. I mean, like, I bought a mini fridge for my husband because he still drinks. And I'm just like, you keep all your stuff down here.
Yeah.
And then occasionally it'll dawn on people when I'm like, I can't even remember what the scenario was. And I was like, well, somebody left a bottle of vodka in the garage and it's on this shelf. And there's also one under the desk.
Yeah.
Because, like, my husband has D&D. I leave.
Yeah.
And whatever. They'll bring over alcohol. I'm not there. It's not a big deal for me. And Owen just kind of like looks at me and I'm like, I'm an alcoholic. Like, I don't think you understand how my brain works.
Yeah.
It's not a
normal brain.
It's not a normal brain.
I know. Yeah. I know.
So I wish it was a normal brain, but I'm also really glad to be sober. So maybe I don't wish it was a normal brain. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty happy with my brain.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Well, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
This was so cool.
Thanks. Yay.
Yeah. Awesome.
It was great talking to you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to Katie's story as much as I loved and thoroughly enjoyed having her here and getting to be a part of listening to her story. I mean, it was just so great. And I am so grateful to have this new friend in my life. So Katie, she was awesome. Next week, we have my friend Allison. Yes, this is Allison, the person who I met in my first meeting and who has meant so much to me and whose wedding I got to go to and be a part of. And she's just such a dear friend. And so I can't wait for her to come on and share her story. So until next week, as always, if you are a sober addict and want to come on and tell your story, please get in touch with me, guys. My email is sam@whyareyoussober.org and my website is whyareyoussober.org. You can also find me on the socials like Facebook and Instagram. And until next week, I'm wishing you all a whole lot of peace, love, and joy. Blessings.